at number 10, we have Hilary Duff. Even though Hilary Duff was on another list in this series, I wanted to bring her back for another reason. Hilary Duff and Disney announced last year that they would be coming out with a reboot of the beloved teen show, Lizzie McGuire. But the series' original showrunner, Terry Minsky, decided to leave the reboot shortly after because of creative differences. After this, Hilary posted to her story that another Disney show, Love, Simon, would be moving from Disney to Hulu because of adult themes, with Hilary writing over it, quote, feels familiar, which made everyone think that was happening to the Lizzie reboot. Hilary ended up confirming that theory shortly after in a post where she said she hoped the series could move to Hulu, as the show was going to be about 30-year-old Lizzie and it couldn't be made under PG restrictions. But sadly, Disney said no to the move and the reboot was cancelled, with Hilary saying on Instagram, quote, I want any reboot of Lizzie to be honest and authentic to who Lizzie would be today. It's what the character deserves. Continuing to insinuate that the show was cancelled because it was too mature. And at number 9, Love, Simon. This Disney Plus show was pitched and in the works until it was cancelled by Disney for not being family-friendly enough. The show was based on a movie around a young teen who's struggling with their sexuality and fears that he will prematurely be outed by a fellow classmate. A source told Variety, quote, Disney felt many issues on the show, including alcohol use and sexual exploration, would not fit in with the family-friendly content on Disney Plus, and it will be moved to Hulu under the name Love, Victor. The film's director, Greg Berlanti, said the show did showcase drinking, but incredibly limited themes of sexuality. And this is not the first LGBTQ+ to get axed by Disney, potentially showing some bias from the network for these types of projects. And at number 8, Jake Paul. Jake Paul leveraged his Vine fame to score the role of Dirk on the Disney Channel show Bizaardvark, but he was cut from the show shortly after his YouTube vlog started to gain too much attention for Disney to handle. Jake talked about his negative experience with Disney on the Impulsive podcast and revealed the real reason behind his exit. Apparently, a lot of it had to do with money. Paul said, quote, I'm sitting there on Disney Channel literally making crumbs compared to what I'm making doing my YouTube channel. At the time Jake was axed, Jake actually said that he was fired because of his online stunts. So either Jake isn't being truthful here or there were a few different reasons that both parties decided to end the partnership. Let me know below what you think of that one. And at number 7, Stefanie Scott. Stefanie Scott starred in the Disney show Ant Farm. However, she told BuzzFeed back in 2015 that the role forced her to, quote, sugarcoat everything all the time, saying in the interview, quote, that's one of the hardest things, not being able to express myself in a certain way or being stuck having to promote something or say something that you don't believe in. Going on to say that hiding her real feelings and emotions became hard for her, and maintaining an image of being perfect and pure not only hurt her career, but also the way she felt about her Disney character. And at number 6, Terrance Howard. Terrance Howard is another former Disney star that left because of money. Clearly, Disney is pretty cheap. So Terrance Howard was actually the person first cast as War Machine in Iron Man, but he was replaced by Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2. The reason was money. Disney had originally offered him a reported $8 million for Iron Man 2 when he signed a 3-movie contract with the franchise. But when it actually was time to film, he only was set to receive $1 million. Howard obviously was not okay with that, and he was apparently fired and replaced with Cheadle. Halfway at number 5, Chloe Grace Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz was actually kicked out of a movie to make room for a bigger star. The 2008 Disney movie Bolt starred huge stars like John Travolta and Miley Cyrus, but that wasn't the original plan. Moretz actually was cast and filmed the entire movie as Penny, aka Miley Cyrus's role, but before it hit theaters, she was replaced with Miley Cyrus for that lead role. And even though I assume she was still paid for her work, it's obviously really heartbreaking to be replaced for basically no reason, just because someone is a bigger star. And at number 4, Lelaine Vergara Perez. Lelaine played Lizzie's BFF Miranda in the hit show Lizzie McGuire, but she revealed years later that she was forced to look as white as possible in the show. She revealed this in an Instagram photo she posted a few years ago. The now deleted picture was captioned with, quote, most of my life growing up I was forced to look as white as possible. These days I struggle to find photos where I look as ethnic as possible, like in this photo, the most East Asian I've ever looked. In order to see for most people, you have to zoom in on the face. One of her Lizzie McGuire co-stars, Clayton Snyder, commented on the photo, quote, you were the first person to open my eyes to the role of race in acting. When asked why you didn't use your last name, said it was too Hispanic, made me sad. And this isn't the first time Disney has been called out for whitewashing in the past, but thankfully they are making progress now. And at number 3, Riaz Mir. BAFTA-nominated director Riaz Mir spoke against Disney after Disney admitted to using makeup to darken the skin tones of many white actors in the live-action remake of Aladdin. According to a British newspaper, quote, "The company says it resorted to darkening white people for roles requiring skills that cannot be readily found in the Asian community." A stand-in for the movie said, quote, "On one set, 2 palace guards came in and I recognized one as a Caucasian actor, but he was now a darkly tanned Arab." BAFTA-nominated TV director Riaz Mir called Disney's decision, quote, "an insult to the whole industry," adding that the talent exists and they should have tried harder to meet the needs of the film. In at number 2, Gina Carano. Mandalorian actress Gina Carano was recently fired from the Disney franchise after she made some controversial comments on social media, and her firing has some fans upset, saying that they will be canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions because of it. The firing came after Carano shared a photo to social media comparing being a Republican today to being Jewish during the Second World War. After the post went viral, #FireGinaCarano began trending, and she was abruptly fired from the Star Wars franchise, as well as being dropped by her agency UTA. And since this was not her first controversial post, one source told The Hollywood Reporter that, quote, "They've been looking for a reason to fire her for 2 months, and today was the final straw." But in wake of the decision, some feel this is a silencing of conservative voices and shows how left-leaning Hollywood and Disney has become. However, this one is definitely open to interpretation. In at number 1, John Boyega. John Boyega made history when he was cast as a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens, but he also became a target of critics angry the role went to a black man. Many years later, he decided to speak out against Disney and expose that he was pushed aside in the films. In an interview with GQ UK, he said about Disney, quote, "What I would say to Disney is to not bring on a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side." And by that he was referencing how his character Finn played an important role in the first film, but was slowly morphed into somewhat of a background character in the following movies. He added that this was not a new thing, and he was not the only person of color that worked in the franchise that had this happen to them.
Starting us off at number 10 is Zac Efron. Fans were not happy when he did not show up to the High School Musical reunion, and many people wondered why. It appeared that we were not all in this together after all, because he was the only one who did not show up. He says he was filming Dirty Grandpa at the time and couldn't make it, but some of his comments have made fans believe differently. Zac admitted he can't celebrate High School Musical because it's not real. He said, "You can't enjoy or celebrate it. It's not a real thing. The face on the lunchbox and you can't share that with your friends." He revealed a lot about his experience with the movie throughout the years, and also revealed they removed his recorded voice tracks from the final cut of the movie without even telling him. They replaced his voice with another singer, Drew Seeley, but Zac fought for his voice to be left in the sequel. He said he had to put his foot down and fight to get his real voice in the movies, which is actually really awkward if you ask me. Like, what an awkward position to be in as a teen when you were hired for that role, which required singing. Up next, number 9 is Nick Jonas. He is another Disney OG who has had some things to say about his years spent working with Disney. He has said some positive things, admitting that he has good memories and that it felt like he was going to summer camp sometimes. But with that, he also said there was a lot of drama because people started dating, and then throughout the years they would just go and date other people on Disney, so it got very messy. But that is kind of expected. He also said that Disney makes you put on a persona and that creative control is taken away. He said the network has its faults, and also said, I quote, "Disney doesn't create role models, it creates characters." Which is a pretty bold statement because a lot of his fans idolize him for his characters on the TV shows and movies, but that is not really him. So their characters might be role models, but that's why fans get so shocked when like the star themselves does something that is so out of character compared to like what their personal life is about. Like Miley Cyrus. Although I think she went a little above and beyond. Swiping the number 8 spot is Christina Aguilera. Yes, she was on Disney. How can we ever forget that she was one of the members of the Mickey Mouse Club alongside Britney Spears? But she was also one of the first people on Disney to let us know that there could be some drama with your co-stars because you're actually pitted against them oftentimes. Their feud has been the topic of conversation for years, and turns out they were kind of in competition with each other throughout their career, but it all started when they were on Disney. As they started getting older and breaking into their own individual careers, the world seemed to have a problem with Christina and often compared her to Britney. She told Cosmo, "I remember being hurt by these commercials on MTV, pitting Britney as the good girl and me as the bad girl. It's like, if I'm going to be demure and innocent, that's okay, but if I'm going to just be myself, I'm trouble." It's difficult breaking out of that Disney persona for one thing, but doing that while you're being compared to your former co-star is even worse. In spot number 7 is Ashley Tisdale. Speaking of co-star rivalry, I bet you thought everything was peaches and creams on the High School Musical cast. Two characters who seemed to be inseparable were the Evans twins, Ryan and Sharpay Evans. Their sibling duo is iconic in the Disney world, but Ashley let us know that her time on Disney wasn't always what it seemed to be. Apparently, she and Lucas Grabeel, who played her brother Ryan, got off on the wrong foot during the audition process and hated each other because of it. Years down the road, they made a YouTube video together where they did a cover to one of their High School Musical songs, but they spoke about their off-screen drama first. She said, "We were not close, we were not good friends, let's just be honest. It's been 10 years, we can totally talk about this now. We hated each other, like, I'm not kidding." Lucas explained where the animosity came from and said that during their audition, she gave him unsolicited notes which she did not ask for, and it rubbed him the wrong way. Basically, it was just a very Sharpay thing to do. Luckily, now that their time on Disney is well over, they are able to be friends. Up next, number 6 is Vanessa Hudgens. She's always been one to say that her Disney experience on High School Musical has always been a love-hate relationship. Dating her co-star Zac Efron was difficult because all the girl fans were always all over him, and she admitted to getting jealous and insecure about it. Outside of her relationship though, she revealed it was difficult for her to break away from her role as Gabriella when trying to book work outside of Disney. She said she had to put in some serious effort to break the typecast and shed that Disney star stigma. During an interview, she said that Disney, I quote, "closed people's minds up as to which characters I could portray." Luckily, she was able to make it happen, and she's starred in a handful of movies since then, and even Broadway shows, so she did something right. Halfway through our countdown, at number 5 is Ross Lynch. You would know him if you watched the Disney show Austin and Ally, where he took on one of the title characters, Austin. Being in the Disney spotlight throughout his teens, he revealed it was very difficult because people expect you to be the character that they see on TV. He admitted that he got lonely often and said that it was hard for people around him to accept the fact that he wasn't actually his character Austin. He said, "People start to think that because you come from Disney that you're a certain way. You're perceived to be such an angel, and really you're just an actor that booked a job." Ross also said that people on the Disney team would also make it seem like they found him and raised him, but to him it was always just a job, and he had a regular life outside of it. Or try to, at least. Coming in hot at number 4 is Brenda Song. Most people who think of Brenda Song immediately think of her iconic Disney character, London Tipton, from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. It's hard to forget a character like that, in my opinion, but that was the problem for her, the typecast once you tried to break away from Disney. When asked if she regrets her time on Disney, she has always said no, but admitted that it was difficult growing up on TV and Disney at that. Similar to Vanessa Hudgens, when auditioning for other work outside of Disney, casting directors had a very hard time not seeing her as London Tipton. She struggled with being able to book roles, and roles that she did book had very similar character traits to her character from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm personally guilty of this because I cannot picture her as anyone else but London Tipton. And when I see her in other movies, I'm like, it's just weird. It's not London Tipton. Taking over our 3rd spot is Zendaya. This Disney star continued to work on Disney even after taking on one of the lead roles in their TV series, Shake It Up. She starred alongside Bella Thorne, and even after it ended, she continued to book some other roles on Disney, like her show Casey Undercover. But her experience with Disney wasn't always easy, and even though she has had some positive things to say about the network, she also said her time on Shake It Up was very difficult at times. She admitted to J14 that during her time filming, she was forced to compete against her co-star Bella Thorne, who was also her close friend. She said, "We were kind of forced to compete against each other. It made the whole first season of the show just very awkward for us." Since then, though, they have become good friends, but Zendaya admits it was never easy feeling like you're being pinned against your co-star, let alone someone who is also your good friend. That would freaking suck. Rolling into number 2 is Kelly Berglund. She starred on Disney's show Lab Rats and admits that being on the Disney Channel is an opportunity of a lifetime, but that it does come with its struggles. She talked to LaPaw magazine and admitted that you sort of know what you're signing up for when you step into the Disney world, but that it doesn't make it any easier. She tried to warn other young stars about how hard it is to grow up in that Disney spotlight. She admitted that having your awkward teen years happen in front of the world can be a struggle. She said, "Being a teenager and growing up can already be tough enough as it is. Try having your awkward years put in front of a spotlight for the whole world to see." On top of that, she said she always felt like she was trying to meet other people's expectations, and it made it hard for her to find who she really was at that time. I can't imagine having to live my awkward years in front of the world, because they were bad. Very bad. Winning the number 1 spot is Aly and Aj. Fans were pumped recently when they released an uncensored version of their song Potential Breakup Song, which actually came out back in 2007. Their music career took off while they were under Disney Channel's music label, Hollywood Records, but then they took a massive break from music altogether and then later revealed why. Apparently it was their time under Disney that made them ultimately decide to walk away from their music. During an interview with Playboy magazine, AJ said, "We just lost love a little bit, you know? We had experienced so much as kids, and I kind of feel like we learned a lot about the industry that put a little bit of bad taste in our mouth. Whether it was a couple of people who we worked with, or whether it was just trying to find the right inspiration, or what have you." Fans were not satisfied with her short explanation, and to this day, people still wonder what exactly happened that made them up and leave so abruptly, it seemed. I'm thinking it was some of the people she worked with, but that's just me. Starting off our countdown is Miley Cyrus. She has talked about her Disney experience on more than one occasion, revealing the struggles she faced after taking on the epic role of Hannah Montana. Throughout her career, Miley has shared that she struggled with an eating disorder as a young girl and that she felt wearing makeup and a wig every day was the definition of what it meant to be a pop star. It was difficult for her to really find herself as Miley because the world knew her as Hannah Montana. Her mom is still her manager to this day, and she also admitted that Disney was not always the best to work for. She said she started understanding how many people were taking advantage of her young daughter and revealed that Miley was grossly, her quote, underpaid. It even came to light that Miley didn't even own her name during that time. Since her character outside of Hannah Montana was actually Miley Stewart on the show, they actually had rights to her name, Miley. Many reasons led up to her decision to quit in 2010, and even though she had a tough experience as a kid, she recently said she would totally do a reboot. So, but maybe now it's different because she's an adult. She can handle the Disney network. Coming up next, number 9 is Joe Jonas. He was just one of the brothers from the boy band The Jonas Brothers, but he took on the lead role in the Disney movies Camp Rock. In recent years, Joe wrote a piece for Vulture which highlighted his time at Disney. In the piece, he revealed that he and his brothers always had to sugarcoat their music and lives to maintain their innocent Disney persona. He said their lyrics actually had to be reviewed and approved by the Disney team, and if anything was too sexual or provoking, then they were told to change it. That was actually one of the main reasons that they decided to quit. He also said that Disney controlled their creativity too much, and he started to feel like one of their puppets. For any young child star wanting a music career outside of Disney, this would have been a good warning for them. Outside of the personality image that they had to maintain, he also hated the fact that he had to shave every single day to play a role that was much younger than he was in real life. That would suck as a man. Moving on to number 8, we have Hilary Duff. There have been a lot of conflicting stories about what exactly led to her decision to leave Disney and her lead role as Lizzie McGuire. But fans got some kind of confirmation back in 2003 when her mom did an interview with Entertainment Weekly and claimed it had to do with her paycheck. Susan Duff claimed that Disney was trying to bully her daughter into accepting whatever offer they wanted to make for a sequel to the Lizzie McGuire movie. Her mom said that Hilary ended up walking away from the sequel, but then Disney walked away from the whole franchise. Hilary also spoke about it and said that it really had an effect on her mental health, which is why she chose to bow out for a while. She said, "I was just making records and touring and making movies and then doing it all over again. By the end of it, I was like, I'm done. I don't enjoy this anymore. I'm not who I want to be." So I guess Disney is not paying their stars enough is what I am starting to realize. Sliding into spot number 7 is Selena Gomez. The Wizards of Waverly Place star left her Disney days behind and had no problem explaining to her fans why. It was a pretty simple explanation and was the classic case of feeling the pressure to live up to that innocent Disney image. She told the New York Times, "I was being held to this expectation of being the good girl. I knew deep down that this wasn't what I wanted to do, being exhausted of forcing something that wasn't right." According to Refinery29, she decided to break away from Disney and actually signed a new contract with Interscope instead. At that point, she allegedly let go of her mother acting as her manager and also had split up with her then boyfriend, Justin Bieber. This was a very big moment in her career, and that is when she released her album, Revival. Once the album was out, she admitted it was the first time that she could breathe and no longer felt like she had to maintain the Disney guidelines. No one really realized just how bad her time with Disney was, and fans were shocked to hear her admit that it actually made her depressed and put her in a really low spot in her life. Rolling into number 6 is Dylan and Cole Sprouse. The twins took over the Disney Channel with their hit show The Sweet Life of Zac and Cody, and then The Sweet Life on Deck. From the outside looking in, it seemed like they had the world in their hands. But they suddenly left the Disney network behind, and fans were shocked to learn their show would not continue. The boys have opened up about what happened and said they tried to pitch a spin-off idea to the Disney team, but they shut it down. Dylan explained and said, "When we had pitched our idea, it was kind of the situation where they had almost laughed in our faces." He then said Disney came back to them a year later with an idea that was essentially the same thing as their original pitch. That is when he said he and his brother Cole basically laughed in their face and walked out. That was the last meeting they ever had with Disney, and despite having years-long relationship with them, things ended up leaving on a very icy note. They have no problem warning others that Disney might steal your ideas, so keep them to yourself. Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Rowan Blanchard. She gained a massive fan base from her time on the newer Disney show Girl Meets World. Fans were crushed when the series was cancelled after their ratings dropped. Forbes reported that the show lost around 3.6 million viewers between season 1 and season 3. But the one thing that people always loved was Rowan and the fact that she prompted the idea of intersectional feminism. Despite her young age, she rallied for the Me Too movement and openly discussed her sexuality. She made a conscious decision back in 2017 to part ways with Disney following the cancellation of the show. She did an interview with W Magazine and said she left because she felt controlled by them. But she didn't exactly say the name Disney Network, probably to protect herself, but people could piece it together. She said, "I worked for a corporation for 4 years that is known for silencing and crafting your voice. So with that, I just had to very much stand my ground and separate myself, which I think I did." She now says that she loves that she's not recognized anymore for her Disney character, but she's now recognized for her activism. In spot number 4 is Raven Symone. Fans were devastated when Raven left Disney for a while after her TV series That's So Raven became a massive success. But she shocked everyone when she signed on to do a spin-off of the original show called Raven's Home at 33 years old. Fans really didn't believe that she would work with Disney ever again, thinking that there was bad blood between them, but turns out there wasn't. Kind of. She did admit to feeling the pressure of having to try and fit the mold of Raven from the show, and not who she was in real life, which is also Raven. When she came out in 2016, she revealed that Disney was always very accepting of her and her sexuality, but that people involved in the network weren't. She explained that during the last season of That's So Raven, she wore jeans and a vest and tie, and one of the members went up to her mom and said, "She looks too much like a lesbian. Can you tell her to put on a skirt and makeup? Because then they'll accept her and come to her concert." As we know from other examples on this list, fitting the Disney look can add a lot of pressure to someone, especially someone who felt like they couldn't really express who they really were. Luckily, Disney has been more supportive and inclusive with the LGBTQ community since her original show. Taking over number 3, we have Shia LaBeouf. If you followed his career, you would see that he is definitely one to experiment with new projects and avenues. But there was a route he refused to go down when he was working with Disney on the classic show Even Stevens. He did an interview with MTV and said that he stopped working with Disney because they were very controlling over where his career was headed. Turns out they wanted him to start a music career. When looking at Disney, most of their stars started out with acting and then went into singing as their career grew. Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Hilary Duff, to name a few. Even Symone. During his interview with MTV, he said, "I never came out with a music thing, even though Disney will push you that way." He went on to say that he always felt out of place at Disney and never felt like he truly belonged. Can you guys just imagine, like, Shia LaBeouf as a singer? Oh, what a world. Taking over the number 2 spot is Demi Lovato. The singer has always been open about her struggles with mental illness and addiction, but that was not always the case. She wasn't very transparent back in her Disney days when she starred on Sunny with a Chance and Camp Rock. In more recent interviews, she has revealed that she struggled with bulimia after getting bullied for her weight while working on Disney. She said she was performing concerts on an empty stomach and started self-medicating for her depression. The pressures of her Disney career quickly caught up to her, which might be why she was so angry in 2012 when Disney Channel made a joke in one of their scripts about eating disorders. Demi lashed out at them on Twitter and tweeted, "I find it really funny how a company can lose one of their actresses from the pressures of an eating disorder and yet still make jokes about that very disease." They responded immediately and said that they were removing both episodes that included the jokes and said it was never their intention to make light of eating disorders. In our number 1 spot is Bella Thorne. This story of Bella has become famous ever since she shared it with her fans. She found fame as a young child on the Disney TV series Shake It Up, but it was cancelled in 2013 despite being the number 1 series in 2 demographics. People thought she was going to stay with Disney and move on to her next project, but it seemed like she was fed up with taking orders from them. After leaving the network, Bella revealed that one time they threatened to fire her after she posted a photo of herself wearing a black bikini. They ended up telling her mom that they cannot afford to fire her at that point, but if she does anything like that again, they will. The worst part about the whole thing was that Bella's mom was the one who bought her that bikini. Once this story came to surface, Bella opened up more about her Disney experience and said she was forced to talk with a higher voice so that she would appeal to Disney's demographic. Even off the show, like during interviews and press, she was asked to change her tone. For anyone who does not follow Bella, she naturally has a deeper voice. Long story short, Bella stopped tolerating the demands and went on to pursue a very different career. She's now acting full-time, putting out music, and is also running an OnlyFans company. No lie.